I had always known my two aunts, Clara and Margaret, as the pillars of our family. They were sisters to my late mother, and after she passed away, they became the closest thing I had to maternal figures. To the outside world, they were as different as night and day. Clara, elegant and poised, a retired literature teacher with a quiet wisdom, and Margaret, bold and fiery, a traveler whose stories could fill volumes. Yet together they formed an unshakable bond, a partnership I never fully understood. Growing up, I visited them often in the old house by the lake. It smelled faintly of lavender and old books, with creaky wooden floors and sunlight that spilled through wide windows. That house had always been my refuge. But as I got older and life pulled me into work and responsibilities, my visits became rare. So when Clara called me one quiet afternoon and asked me to come over, I didn't think much of it. What I didn't expect was the secret they had been guarding for decades. The day I arrived, Margaret opened the door with her usual warmth. "Finally," she teased, hugging me tightly. "We thought you'd forgotten we existed." Clara followed, smiling softly, her silver hair tied back neatly. "We've missed you," she said. But her eyes, there was something restless in them, something I couldn't place. After dinner, we gathered in the living room. The fireplace crackled, casting shadows across the walls. Clara sat stiffly in her chair while Margaret paced near the window, as if gathering courage. "There's something you need to know," Clara began, her voice steady but trembling at the edges. Frowned, confused. "What is it?" Margaret turned, her eyes gleaming with an odd mix of mischief and gravity. "We've carried a secret for far too long," she said. "And it's time you know the truth." I felt my stomach tighten. "A secret?" Clara reached for my hand. Her palm was cold. "It's about your mother. And about us." The room seemed to tilt slightly. My mother had passed away when I was just a child, and though I remembered fragments of her laughter, most of what I knew came from stories told by others. "What do you mean?" I asked. Margaret inhaled deeply. "Your mother wasn't just our sister. She was part of something with us. Something we promised we would never reveal until the right moment." I stared at them, speechless. Clara's grip tightened, as if bracing me. "When we were young," Clara continued, "the three of us were inseparable. We weren't just sisters. We were dreamers. We had this wild idea to live differently, to build a life that wasn't bound by what society expected." Margaret laughed softly, though there was sadness in it. "We wanted freedom, adventure, and love in forms no one could understand back then. Your mother was the boldest of us. She led us into choices that shaped everything." My chest tightened. "What kind of choices?" They exchanged glances. Clara spoke again, her voice low. "We decided we would raise a family together. Not in the traditional sense, but as one. Shared responsibilities, shared dreams, shared love. We thought we could rewrite the rules." The word stunned me. I had never imagined my mother in such a story. "You mean you three were partners in life?" Margaret nodded. "Exactly. People whispered about us. We didn't care. But when your mother fell in love and had you, everything shifted. She wanted you to be part of the family dream, but she also wanted you to have stability, protection. So she kept much of it hidden." I sat back trying to process. My mother, my aunts, sharing a secret life, bound not just by blood but by something deeper. "Why are you telling me this now?" I asked quietly. Clara's eyes glistened. "Because you deserve to know where you come from. Because we're old now, and secrets can become prisons if carried too long. And because your mother wanted you to know when the time was right." Margaret stepped closer, her voice softer than I'd ever heard it. "She left something for you." My heart pounded as she handed me a small wooden box. The lock was worn, the lid carved with delicate flowers. My hands trembled as I opened it. Inside was a bundle of letters tied with a ribbon, along with a locket. I lifted the locket first. Inside was a picture of the three sisters, young, radiant, arms linked, smiles bright with unspoken rebellion. On the other side, a faded photo of me as a baby. Tears blurred my vision. "Read the letters," Clara urged gently. That night, under the glow of the fireplace, I unfolded the first letter. It was my mother's handwriting, slanted, graceful, alive. She wrote of her dreams with Clara and Margaret, of their pact to live differently, to never let fear dictate their choices. She wrote of the joy I brought into her life, of how she hoped I would grow up to understand that family isn't defined by conventions but by love. Page after page, her voice reached across time, filling the hollow spaces of my memory. She spoke of laughter, of fights, of nights spent planning futures no one else could imagine. She spoke of her love for me, fierce, unwavering, limitless. By the time I finished, tears streamed down my face. Clara reached over, brushing my hand. She wanted you to see us not as caretakers or relatives, but as part of the family she built for you. That's why we raised you together after she passed, though you may not have seen it that way. Margaret added, We fought, we stumbled, but we always put you first. Because that was her dream, that her child would grow up surrounded by love, even if the world didn't understand the form it took. 4 days after that revelation, I walked through the house differently. Every photograph, every book, every corner seemed alive with stories I had never known. My mother wasn't just the fading memory I carried. She was vibrant, daring, filled with a love that transcended boundaries. One evening, as we sat together sipping tea, I asked them the question that had been gnawing at me. Do you regret it? The choices you made? Margaret smiled wistfully. Regret? Well, people called us crazy. But we lived fully, true to ourselves. That's more than most can say. Clara nodded. What we regret is hiding it from you for so long. But sometimes, protecting someone means carrying a secret until they're ready. I looked at them. 2 women who had given their lives to raise me, to honor my mother's dream. They weren't just my aunts. They were guardians of a legacy I had only just discovered. The more I thought about it, the more I realized their story wasn't just about rebellion or secrecy. It was about courage, the courage to live authentically, to love without apology, to create a family on their own terms. And in their eyes I saw an unspoken hope, that I would carry that courage forward. One night, as the lake shimmered under the moonlight, I stood with them on the porch. The air was cool, filled with crickets and the scent of pine. Thank you, I whispered. Clara looked at me softly. For what? For loving me the way you did. For keeping her dream alive. For sharing it with me now. Margaret slipped an arm around my shoulders. You are her legacy. Ours. Whatever you choose to do with your life, remember. You are free to live boldly. Just as she wanted. The box of letters now sits on my desk at home. A constant reminder of the wild secret my aunts shared and the truth my mother left behind. Whenever I feel lost, I open them, hearing her voice urging me to be brave.